What's up? We're talking about a very basic beginner exercise working on individual chords today. I call it individual chord practice, and it looks a little something like this. So let's say today we're going to work on the G and C and D chords, and just how to form them individually and to get your hand to memorize the shapes. Okay, so I'm going to start with, I think, the D chord. In some ways, it's the simplest of these shapes. You'll notice that I'm letting my thumb hang over the top of the neck, more kind of with a mandolin style technique, because I want it to actually mute that E string should I cavalierly happen to strum it by accident. So 5 strings are going to ring for this D chord. Your A string, D string, G string, B string, and E string. And I'm going to put my first finger here at the 2nd fret of the G string, my 3rd finger or ring finger at the 3rd fret or just behind it, and my middle finger right in here at the 2nd fret of the high E string. And it should sound a little something like that. Okay, this is a very simple exercise. All you do is you put your fingers on the strings where you make the chord, and then you press them down, and you check each string to make sure that it's ringing. You're not like, sometimes it'll happen for a lot of folks that the ring finger will lean over on the high E string and mute it. So you'll get that, and you'll need to make sure that perhaps you're more on the tip of the distal joint of your finger to get it clear. And then once you get that fairly confident, what I recommend you do is just start by releasing the pressure, but not actually taking the fingers off of the strings. So they're not actually coming off of the strings at all, but you're releasing the pressure and then putting it back and checking the strings again. And then release and put it back. Release and put it back. Several times. And then when you get very successful at that, or let's say when you do that 3 times and you get it right 3 times in a row, or 4, let's say, then release the pressure and hold the shape of the chord so that, and just barely take your fingers off of the strings. I'm barely taking them off, like maybe 1/8 of an inch, maybe less, and then putting them back. So the idea is to get yourself to hold the shape even when you're not placed on the strings. And if you get that right your first time, then try that again, releasing the pressure and taking them off the strings but holding the shape and putting them back and checking it. If the first time you take them off the strings and you don't hold the shape right and you get something muted or something buzzes or something like that, check to see what happened. If you can figure out, if the string was buzzing, you might have gone too far back from the frets, or you might not have had quite enough pressure with your fingers. But just note that, and then go back to simplifying the exercise. So just go back to that releasing the pressure but not taking them off, and do that a few times to get a few victories in there. And then test it again coming off the strings. And if you get that right one time, try to get that right 3 times in a row. If you get that right 3 times in a row, hold the shape of the chord and move farther away and see if you can get that 3 times. The idea is to consistently be getting it correct 3 times in a row. And anytime you have a goof, go back 1 or 2 levels or all the way to the beginning, so you're getting more successes than you are failures. It's a very simple exercise, and eventually it's what gives you the ability to just take your hand completely off the guitar and put it immediately back and form the chord, and it will help you with your chord transitions and everything else. Okay, so just to repeat these with G and C. All right, I'm going to start with G, which is, I'm using all 4 fingers. It's a very good sounding G for a lot of purposes, but it's not a universal. There's other ways. First finger at the 2nd fret of the 5th string, middle finger at the 3rd fret of the 6th string, ring finger at the 3rd fret of the B string, and 4th finger right underneath it. And you're going to do the same process, except you're going to check all 6 strings now. Release the pressure, and then put it back. See if you can get that coordinated and happening regularly, and then eventually hold the shape, tape the fingers off, put them back. Hold the shape, tape the fingers off, put them back. You can just do a few of these, do 30 seconds to a minute of this in a little time, a break time that you have between other things to work on, again, like I said, the shape. For C, especially for strumming, I like using all 4 fingers. So first finger on the first fret of the B string, second finger on the second fret of the D, third finger, ring finger, on the 3rd fret of the 6th string or lowest string, and 4th finger on the 5th fret. The reason why I like this C is because it sounds very good for strumming. It sounds a lot better than a C where you might have the 3rd in the bass. I might use that when I'm finger picking, but I really don't like that sound for strumming. So I recommend for beginners especially to use all 4 fingers. It also helps coordinate your hand together as a group. Depending upon the position of the guitar, you might have your thumb a little bit lower, or you might have it a little bit higher, depending on whether you're playing more mandolin technique or more guitar technique. So you're just going to do the same thing with your C chord. Just release the pressure, put it back. Release the pressure, put it back. Release the pressure, put it back. Then try smaller and smaller distance away so you can memorize the shapes of the chords. And that's a really good stepping stone towards working on chord transitions. And it's just a really good elementary exercise. You can spend a couple of minutes or a minute on each chord. If you do that a couple of times, you'll get these shapes under your fingers really, really quickly. Okay, please, like, subscribe, comment, and all that. Thanks.